Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the data behind one of the absolute most fascinating travel evolutions of the decade, and that's Apulia's massive tourism boom. If you've been tracking global travel trends at all lately, you've definitely seen this southern Italian region, the heel of Italy's boot, popping up literally everywhere. But hey, we aren't just looking at pretty pictures today. We are unpacking the hard data from the regional observatory reports to figure out exactly how this region engineered such an explosive, strategic growth, and honestly, what it means for the future of travel.
Okay, so before we really get into the numbers, we've got to ask ourselves a pretty big question. How does a region that was known primarily for, domestic summer beach trips successfully transform into a year-round global luxury powerhouse? I mean, that doesn't just happen by accident, right? It takes a massive shift in infrastructure, in marketing, and in the very type of tourist a destination actually attracts. So keep that question in the back of your mind as we unpack the precise mechanics of Apulia's massive success.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Apulia's record-breaking boom.
Just look at this staggering number, 22.6 million. That represents the projected total overnight stays in Apulia for 2025. That is a massive 10% increase from just the previous year. And total arrivals? They hit around 6.7 million, showing a 13% overall growth. This completely cements the region as a dominant leader in the Italian tourism landscape. But what's actually driving this? Is it just more Italians taking a vacation down south? Absolutely not.
What's truly fascinating here is how internationalization is the real engine of this growth. While total arrivals are up 13%, the US market is up 18%. But get this, the real shocker, the Polish market has exploded by an unbelievable 54%, literally 54%. This right here is a textbook example of how infrastructure drives tourism. That massive spike is directly tied to expanded low-cost flight routes landing straight into the Bari and Brindisi airports. It's a total game changer. So, breaking down these foreign arrivals a bit further, we can see exactly who is driving this 22.6% international growth, and it's definitely not a monolith. Different cultures are seeking entirely different experiences. It's almost like a giant puzzle. Notice how German tourists are driving volume with a really strong preference for the outdoors in the Gargano area. The French, they're highly active in historic villages. The UK market is zeroing in on wedding tourism. We're talking high-end luxury weddings. Then you have the US, which is the highest growth premium market, focusing almost entirely on five-star luxury and private food and wine tours. And Poland, as we just saw, is the fast-growing mass market.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Big 5 hotspots. Now that we understand the massive volume, let's zoom in to see exactly where all these millions of people are actually going. These Big 5 destinations combined generate over 60% of Apulia's regional tourism revenue. You've got Bari at the top with 2.2 million stays, acting as the main airport and cruise hub. Right behind it is Vieste with 2.1 million stays, largely driven by massive campsites and family seaside resorts. Then we shift gears to culture with Lecce's famous Baroque art pulling in 1.1 million, followed by the lower Salento beaches of Ugento at 1 million, and finally Gallipoli, the absolute hub of nightlife, sitting at 860,000 stays.
But all this intense concentration creates some very distinct tiers within the region. Comparing these top-performing zones, we see a really clear divide. The elite coastal zones, like the Swabian and Barishi coast, which are driven by beautiful towns like Polagna a Mare, are commanding the highest daily rates in the entire region. Meanwhile, the famous inland icons of the Ischia Valley, featuring those globally recognized towns like Alberobello and Ostuni, they are reaching near total saturation from June to September. They are incredibly popular, but essentially packed to the gills during the peak season.
Which brings us to Section 3, the shift to global luxury.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that Apulia isn't just getting more tourists. It's radically changing the type of tourist it attracts, shifting heavily toward the luxury segment. Central to this luxury shift is a very specific, unique type of accommodation, the masseria. These are historic, fortified farmhouses that have been meticulously converted into stunning luxury and boutique resorts. I mean, these structures are the beating heart of the luxury boom. They are exactly where the UK market is booking out high-end weddings and where the American market is dropping top dollar for exclusive, five-star experiences.
And the financial data proves just how wild this luxury pivot has been. Even outside the frantic summer rush, in shoulder months like May and October, these luxury masserias and boutique resorts are maintaining an incredible 78% occupancy rate. Think about that. For anyone working in the hospitality industry, maintaining nearly 80% occupancy outside of your peak season, that is literally the holy grail.
That incredible high shoulder month occupancy perfectly leads us into Section 4, deseasonalizing the destination.
Let's move through the calendar and see how this builds across the whole year, because this is brilliant. Notice how the traditional July and August summer peak, which, to be fair, still accounts for 40% of all stays, is now being heavily supported by the rest of the year. In April and May, boom, there's a surge in cycle tourism. In September, we see a record-breaking growth of plus 29%. But look at the winter. From October to March, the mild climate attracts Northern European golfers to Savoletri, while Bari has completely transformed into an international hub for corporate meetings and conferences. Finally, during the holidays, targeted programs bring Italian Americans and Argentines back for roots tourism. It is a total masterclass in 365-day destination management.
And finally, Section 5, the allure of hidden Apulia.
Now, as an insider navigating this booming landscape, we need to filter all the way down to the hidden, authentic zones that those massive global crowds are completely missing. There are essentially two Apulias right now. You have the seen Apulia, places like the Etria Valley and Gallipoli, which are beautiful for sure, but they are crowded, expensive, and globally saturated. Then you have the unseen Apulia. These areas remain tranquil, deeply authentic, and largely untouched by mass tourism. Now, they might lack high-speed rail connections, making them a bit more logistically challenging to reach, but for the smart traveler, the reward is absolutely immense.
Venturing into these geographical margins provides four massive advantages. First, true sustainability and authenticity. You finally get to escape the frantic pace of mass tourism. Second, unbeatable value for money. You're getting extremely high standards for a fraction of the coastal prices. Third, a real connection with nature, allowing for some genuine slow tourism in untouched reserves. And fourth, pure gastronomic experiences, where the food hasn't been standardized for a global palate.
So where exactly are these hidden gems? Well, consider this your insider's cheat sheet. If you want untouched biodiversity and unique geology, you head straight to Alta Murgia. If you're into anthropology, the small Daunian centers like Bovino and Orsara host genuine community fire rituals and folklore events. And we're talking real life here, not staged shows. For wine lovers, the Foggia province offers precision enology with the Nero di Troia grape, giving you world-class wine at super accessible prices. And for the adventurous, the inland of Lower Salento offers incredible urbex, urban exploration, in abandoned masserias and underground oil mills. This right here is where the real Apulia still breathes.
I really want to highlight this specific quote from the report regarding these unseen areas. Cuisine remains a daily cultural fact rather than a standardized service for tourists. Think about that. In inland towns like Cella Messapica or Noci, the food isn't just some attraction on a shiny brochure, it is an intact daily tradition. When you eat there, you are actively participating in a culture that simply hasn't been watered down by its own global success.
So as we wrap up this explainer on Apulia's incredible rise, the data leaves us with a pretty compelling choice. As you analyze the future of global travel, or maybe even plan your own journey to the heel of the boot, you have to decide, will you just follow the masses to the crowded, saturated beaches and luxury hotspots? Or will you use this data to seek out the untouched folklore, the incredible value, and the true biodiversity of the authentic Apulia? The numbers show the crowds are heavily going one way, so maybe it's time for the smart traveler to go the other. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep exploring.